The battlefield was a wasteland, the earth scorched and cracked from the relentless clashes of energy. The sky, once blue, was now a swirling mass of dark clouds, lit by the occasional flash of ki. Gohan stood alone, his left arm hanging limp at his side, blood dripping from a deep gash across his chest. His breath came in ragged gasps, but his eyes burned with determination. Across from him, Cell smirked, his perfect form radiating smug superiority. Pathetic, Cell taunted, flexing his fingers. Even with your father's sacrifice, you're still just a child playing at being a warrior. Gohan clenched his remaining fist, his mind racing. He remembered his father's final moments, Goku's self-destruct, the explosion that should have taken Cell with him. But the monster had regenerated, emerging stronger than ever. Now, with the Z fighters either dead or incapacitated, it was up to Gohan to finish what his father started. I won't let you win, Gohan growled, his voice trembling with exhaustion and rage. Cell lunged, his movements a blur. Gohan barely raised his arm in time to block a vicious kick, the impact sending shockwaves through his battered body. He countered with a desperate punch, but Cell caught his fist effortlessly, twisting it with a cruel grin. Weak, Cell sneered before driving a knee into Gohan's gut, making him cough blood. Gohan staggered back, his vision swimming. He could feel his energy waning, his muscles screaming in protest. But deep within him, something stirred, a dormant power, waiting to be unleashed. Memories flashed through his mind, Piccolo's harsh training, his father's unwavering belief in him, the helplessness he felt when Cell killed Android 16. That last thought ignited something primal. A golden aura flickered around Gohan, then erupted in a blinding explosion of light. His hair spiked upward, turning gold, his eyes sharpening into emerald slits. The ground trembled as his power surged, the shockwave forcing Cell to take a step back. Impossible, Cell muttered, his confidence wavering for the first time. Gohan didn't waste time. He vanished, reappearing behind Cell in an instant, his remaining fist slamming into the android's spine with enough force to crack the earth beneath them. Cell roared in pain, spinning to retaliate, but Gohan was already gone, delivering a crushing elbow to his jaw. The speed was unreal, Cell couldn't keep up. Gohan's movements were a blur of golden light, every strike precise, every counter devastating. He grabbed Cell by the throat, lifting him off the ground before slamming him into the dirt with enough force to create a crater. Cell coughed, his regeneration struggling to keep pace with the damage. No. This can't be, he spat, pushing himself up. But Gohan was already charging his ultimate attack. His palm glowed with a sphere of crackling energy, the air itself vibrating from its intensity. This ends now, Gohan declared, his voice echoing with power. Cell's eyes widened in genuine fear. He tried to raise his arms, to muster a defense, but it was too late. Gohan unleashed the blast, a beam of pure destruction that consumed Cell entirely. The explosion lit up the sky, the force of it sending shockwaves for miles. As the dust settled, Gohan stood there, panting, his Super Saiyan 2 form flickering before finally stabilizing. Cell was gone, reduced to nothing. But victory came at a cost. Gohan's body screamed in agony, his remaining strength fading fast. He collapsed to his knees, the weight of everything crashing down on him. He had done it, avenged his father, saved the earth. But as his vision darkened, he wondered if it was enough. The battle was over. For now. Word count, 1000. The battlefield trembled as Gohan's golden aura erupted, his single arm clenched into a fist. The air crackled with energy, his transformation into a Super Saiyan 2 complete. Across the wasteland, Perfect Cell smirked, wiping blood from his lip. Impressive, boy. But it changes nothing. Gohan's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. You're wrong. This ends now. Before he could strike, the ground split open, and a surge of dark energy erupted. From the fissure emerged a figure cloaked in shadows, Android 17, his once neutral expression twisted into a cruel grin. Miss me? He taunted, his mechanical limbs gleaming. Gohan's breath hitched. But you were destroyed, Cell laughed, folding his arms. A backup, just in case. And now, you face us both. The stakes had just doubled. Gohan launched himself at Cell, their fists colliding in a shockwave that shattered the landscape. Rocks liquefied under the heat of their blows, and Gohan used the terrain to his advantage, kicking debris toward Cell to blind him. But Android 17 intervened, firing a barrage of energy blasts that forced Gohan to flip backward. You can't dodge forever, 17 sneered. Gohan gritted his teeth, his mind racing. Alone, he could handle either of them, but together? Then, A familiar voice cut through the chaos. Need a hand? Gohan turned to see Piccolo landing beside him, his cape billowing. Relief flooded him, but it was short-lived. Piccolo's eyes were cold, his stance hostile. Piccolo? The Namekian smirked. Sorry, kid. But I've got my own score to settle. Without warning, he lunged, his fist slamming into Gohan's gut. The betrayal stung worse than the pain. Now outnumbered 3-1, Gohan barely had time to process Piccolo's turn before Cell's knee crashed into his ribs. He skidded across the ground, blood dripping from his mouth. Why? He gasped, staring at Piccolo. The Namekian's expression flickered. Was that hesitation? Before he fired a Makanko Sappo. Gohan rolled, the beam grazing his shoulder. Desperation fueled him. He couldn't hold back anymore. With a roar, he unleashed a one-handed Kamehameha, the beam slicing through the battlefield. Cell dodged, but 17 wasn't fast enough, the blast sheared off his arm. The android howled in rage, his system sparking. You'll pay for that. Piccolo seized the opening, wrapping Gohan in a chokehold from behind. You're strong, but not strong enough, he hissed. Gohan's vision blurred, but he refused to yield. Remembering his father's training, he focused his energy inward, then detonated it outward in a shockwave, breaking free. Piccolo staggered, and Gohan didn't hesitate. He drove his elbow into Piccolo's jaw, sending him crashing into a cliffside. Cell clapped mockingly. Bravo! But the encore's mine. He charged, his fists a blur. Gohan blocked what he could, but Cell's speed was overwhelming. A kick to the ribs sent him flying into a crumbling tower. Dust rained down as Gohan struggled to rise. His body ached, his energy fading. Then, a glint of metal caught his eye, 17's severed arm, still crackling with energy. An idea sparked. With a burst of speed, he snatched it and hurled it at Cell like a spear. Cell swatted it aside, but Gohan had already closed the gap, driving his knee into Cell's chin. The villain reeled, and Gohan followed with a point-blank Masenko, the blast engulfing Cell in flames. But victory was fleeting. Piccolo emerged from the rubble, his eyes glowing red. Enough games. He fired a Hellzone grenade, dozens of energy orbs homing in on Gohan. Trapped between the attack and a recovering Cell, Gohan did the only thing he could. He channeled every ounce of his power into a barrier. The explosions rocked the earth, the force sending him skidding back. As the smoke cleared, Gohan panted, his body screaming in protest. He was outmatched, outmaneuvered. But giving up wasn't an option. Not while Earth's fate hung in the balance. Then, a new energy signature flared, one he hadn't felt in years. A voice echoed in his mind, "You're not alone, Gohan." His heart leapt. Could it be? The sky split open, and a figure descended, clad in orange and blue. Gohan's eyes widened. Dad? The battle was far from over. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered earth and smoldering craters, the air thick with the acrid scent of burning energy. Gohan stood alone, his single arm trembling, his golden aura flickering like a dying flame. Across from him, Perfect Cell grinned, his perfect form radiating untapped power. You're running out of time, boy, Cell taunted, cracking his knuckles. One arm, no allies, what can you possibly do? Gohan's breath came in ragged gasps, but his eyes burned with defiance. I don't need two arms to finish this, he growled. The fight resumed with brutal intensity. Gohan dodged Cell's energy blasts by inches, countering with desperate strikes. Each clash sent shockwaves through the ruined landscape. But Cell was toying with him, laughing as he blocked Gohan's attacks with ease. You're weak, Cell sneered, grabbing Gohan by the throat and slamming him into the ground. Blood trickled from Gohan's lips as he struggled to rise. His father's voice echoed in his mind, you have the power, Gohan. You just need to let it out. Then, the twist struck like lightning. A sudden, searing pain erupted in Gohan's chest, not from Cell, but from within. His body convulsed as a dark energy surged through him, his golden hair flickering between blonde and an eerie, unstable crimson. Cell stepped back, eyes widening. What is this? He muttered. Gohan screamed as the transformation overtook him, his aura exploding into a chaotic storm of power. His missing arm regrew in a burst of energy, but something was wrong. His eyes gleamed with madness, his voice distorted. You wanted power, Cell? Here it is. The revelation hit like a hammer. Gohan hadn't just ascended to Super Saiyan 2. He'd unlocked something darker, a berserk state fueled by rage and despair. The others watched in horror from the sidelines. He's losing control, Piccolo shouted. Vegeta's fists clenched. Foolish boy, he's playing right into Cell's hands. Cell, however, wasn't celebrating. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. Gohan moved faster than sight, landing a devastating punch that sent Cell crashing through a mountain. The fight escalated into a blur of violence, Gohan's unstable power tearing the battlefield apart. But with every strike, his sanity slipped further. He didn't just want to defeat Cell, he wanted to obliterate him, consequences be damned. The emotional toll was crushing. Piccolo's voice cut through the chaos. Gohan, stop. You'll destroy everything. But Gohan couldn't hear him. Cell, battered but grinning, seized the opportunity. You're stronger than I thought, he admitted, wiping blood from his lip. But can you handle this? With a roar, Cell unleashed his full power, his body swelling with energy as he prepared his ultimate attack, a suicide bomb capable of annihilating the planet. Time seemed to freeze. Gohan's mind cleared for a split second, the weight of his failure crashing down. His friends, the Earth, everything was at stake. Then, a desperate plan formed. Drawing on the last shreds of his control, he channeled his energy into a single, precise strike, a Kamehameha aimed not at Cell, but at the sky. The beam rocketed upward, and with a final, agonizing effort, Gohan teleported Cell into its path, hurling him into space just as the explosion detonated harmlessly in the void. The battlefield fell silent. Gohan collapsed, his power spent, his body broken. But he'd done it. Cell was gone. As his vision faded, he heard Piccolo's voice, softer now. You did good, kid. The cost had been high, his body, his control, his innocence, but the Earth was safe. For now. The battlefield trembled as Son Gohan stood defiantly, his single arm clenched into a fist, his golden aura flaring wildly against the oppressive energy of perfect Cell. The air crackled with tension, the weight of the world resting on Gohan's shoulders. Cell smirked, his voice dripping with arrogance. Still standing, one-armed wonder? How amusing. Gohan's eyes burned with determination, his body aching from the relentless onslaught, yet his spirit refused to break. With a sudden burst of speed, Gohan vanished, reappearing behind Cell in a blur. His remaining fist drove forward, aiming for Cell's spine, but the bio-android twisted midair, narrowly avoiding the strike. Cell retaliated with a spinning kick, but Gohan ducked low, pivoting on his heel before launching a devastating uppercut. The impact sent Cell skyward, but he recovered instantly, flipping backward and firing a barrage of energy blasts. Gohan weaved through the storm, his movements precise, his instincts sharpened by desperation. The ground shattered as Cell descended like a meteor, his fist crashing toward Gohan's skull. At the last second, Gohan sidestepped, seizing Cell's wrist and twisting violently. A sickening crack echoed as Cell's arm bent unnaturally, but the monster merely chuckled, regenerating the damage instantly. Pathetic, Cell sneered, driving his knee into Gohan's gut, sending him skidding across the battlefield. Gohan coughed, blood trickling from his lips, but his resolve hardened. He remembered his father's sacrifice, the lessons of his mentors, the innocent lives depending on him. His aura flared again, this time surging with an intensity that shook the earth. Lightning crackled around him as his hair spiked further, his power skyrocketing. You're finished, Cell, Gohan growled, his voice laced with fury. Cell's eyes widened momentarily before he grinned. Ah, so you finally reached Super Saiyan 2. Let's see if it's enough. He lunged, fists a blur, but Gohan matched him blow for blow. Their clash sent shockwaves ripping through the landscape, rocks levitating from the sheer force. Gohan feinted left before driving his elbow into Cell's jaw, then followed with a spinning kick that sent the monster crashing into a mountainside. Cell emerged, his smirk gone, replaced by irritation. Enough games. He raised his hands, gathering a massive energy sphere. You can't dodge this. Gohan braced himself, knowing a direct hit would be catastrophic. As the blast rocketed toward him, he channeled every ounce of his power into his remaining arm, forming a Kamehameha wave. The beams collided, a blinding explosion engulfing the battlefield. Smoke cleared, revealing Gohan panting, his body battered but unbroken. Cell staggered, his perfect form showing cracks, literally. His regeneration was slowing. Sensing weakness, Gohan pressed the attack, his movements now fluid, his strikes calculated. He feigned exhaustion, luring Cell into a reckless charge. At the last second, Gohan sidestepped, delivering a crushing chop to Cell's neck, then spun, driving his knee into the android's ribs. Cell roared in frustration, his attacks growing wilder, more desperate. Gohan, however, remained composed, exploiting every opening. With a final, earth-shattering punch, he sent Cell crashing to the ground. The bio-android struggled to rise, his body failing. Impossible, he gasped. Gohan stood over him, energy swirling around his fist. This ends now. With a deafening cry, he unleashed a point-blank Kamehameha, the beam consuming Cell entirely. The villain's screams echoed before silence fell. As the dust settled, Gohan collapsed to one knee, his body spent but his spirit victorious. The battle was won. The world was safe. And though battered and broken, he had proven that even against impossible odds, courage and resolve could overcome any evil. The battlefield was a wasteland of craters and smoldering ruins, the air thick with the stench of burning earth and ozone. Gohan stood alone, his left arm hanging limp at his side, blood dripping from his fingertips. Across from him, Cell smirked, his perfect form radiating arrogance. Pathetic, Cell sneered, cracking his knuckles. Even with one arm, you're still just a child playing at being a warrior. Gohan's breath came in ragged gasps, but his eyes burned with defiance. He remembered his father's sacrifice, Piccolo's training, and the countless lives lost to Cell's cruelty. This wasn't just about survival, it was about justice. With a roar that shook the heavens, Gohan unleashed his remaining energy, golden flames erupting around him. Lightning crackled across his body as his hair spiked upward, his aura exploding into the legendary Super Saiyan 2. The ground beneath him shattered, and Cell's smirk faltered for the first time. Impossible, he spat, but Gohan was already moving. A blur of motion, he closed the distance in an instant, his fist slamming into Cell's gut with enough force to send shockwaves through the planet. Cell doubled over, coughing up bile, but Gohan didn't let up. His knee rocketed upward, snapping Cell's head back before a spinning kick sent him crashing through a mountain. Cell emerged from the rubble, his face twisted in fury. "You'll pay for that," he snarled, charging a Kamehameha in his palms. Gohan didn't flinch. Instead, he raised his single arm, gathering every ounce of his power. The two beams collided in a cataclysmic explosion, light swallowing the sky. For a moment, it seemed like a stalemate, until Gohan's scream tore through the chaos. "For my father. For everyone you've hurt." His Kamehameha surged forward, overpowering Cell's, engulfing him in a blinding inferno. Cell's screams were cut short as his body disintegrated, atom by atom, until nothing remained but the echoes of his defeat. Silence fell. Gohan dropped to his knees, his transformation flickering out as exhaustion claimed him. The others rushed to his side, Vegeta, Trunks, even Krillin, their faces a mix of awe and relief. "You did it," Vegeta muttered, grudging respect in his voice. Gohan looked at his missing arm, then at the horizon where Cell had once stood. It was over. But as the dust settled, he knew this victory wasn't just his, it belonged to everyone who had fought, bled, and died for this moment. The universe would remember this day. And so would he. In the days that followed, Earth began to heal. The scars of battle remained, but so did hope. Gohan, now a symbol of resilience, trained harder than ever, refusing to let his injury define him. Meanwhile, across the cosmos, whispers spread of the one-armed warrior who had toppled a god. Some saw him as a warning. Others, as inspiration. But for Gohan, the fight was never about glory. It was about protecting what mattered. And as he looked to the stars, he knew, this was only the beginning.